Hello, everybody. Suzanne Kellner-Zinck from Visions Hypnosis here to explain why we need to clear negativity out of our lives to live our purpose on purpose. For those of you who understand the simple principle of feng shui, that states that you need to get rid of stuff that you no longer use. New stuff, usually of the same kind, will enter your world miraculously in ways you never could have experienced it before. This is true especially of our emotions. When we allow the media, negative people, negative environments control us, we're allowing them to degrade our happy, positive energy. Some people in the esoteric world call that vibration. What we need to understand is simply this. We can only allow ourselves to live on purpose if we get that crap out of our lives. Because it hijacks your brain. And it makes it difficult to do the things that you're put here on planet Earth to do. When we have a higher calling, and I would say the hypnosis and linguistic programming practice that I have fills that particular notion in my life, interesting things arise in your future. Things you can never imagine are possible. And it's because of having a clear, compelling future based on your ethics and the things you deeply care about. And in order to get through the challenges that arise along the way of achieving your purpose, you have to be in a higher state of energy, i.e., vibration. Because life is not necessarily easy, but it can be fun and it can be exciting, despite the challenges, so long as we have a higher purpose for being here. And I can tell you, I've been through more than a few challenges over the years, some of which I never knew how I was going to make certain things happen. One of the more amazing miracles that arrived in my life that I could never have expected, not knowing it was a possibility, was getting a refund on an entire master's program, plus living expenses from the US government for my student aid. Because the state of California sued the university, stating that it had overstated the income students who had achieved their degrees from that university could expect to actually earn upon graduation, as well as charging too much for what it was they were providing. This was important because I had no way to pay for the second year of prerequisites for my doctoral program. I was out of student loan money. So that was a miracle. And I can only tell you that I had to take a leave from my program until this arrived in my future, totally unexpectedly. And all I was doing was working on figuring out how to find the financing to continue my psychology doctoral program. Because in my world, it meets some situations and conditions that I needed to meet. Number one, I am not a licensed professional. Hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming are not licensed professions in the United States of America. And probably never will be, because the people who do these particular modalities don't want to be licensed. Because we understand that when you're licensed as a professional, you're handcuffed in terms of what you can do by the various associations. And we do have associations that give us mandates upon which we are supposed to practice. And certain states have registries that people who are certified as hypnotists in particular need to register their profession, like the state of Washington. And there's other states like the state of Connecticut that tell those who are not licensed medical or psychological providers that they cannot call themselves hypnotherapists, they can only be consulting hypnotist. Which is fine with me, because I don't want to be a therapist. When I think of therapist, I think of people who all too often have not taken care of their own problems, who want to help other people overcome their problems. Please tell me how this works in the real world. One cannot provide what one has not had in their own life. If you have not healed yourself, you cannot heal other people. I'm sorry. It's impossible. You don't know how, or you would have done it for yourself first. And so I just want to be an old-time hypnotist who helps people release the problems that are getting in their way because they're subconscious, shall we say, programming, and help them to reprogram their mind to do those things they truly want to do and to be the people they want to be so long as they're being ethical and positive in this world. And help them make that happen. As I was able to make a lot of things happen in my life that I believe most people would find miraculous. I live on the seaside, maybe not an ocean side, but it's still a seaside, beautiful resorts, and beautiful people and real food. Among people who truly love and care about me. Something that was really difficult to find in America. At a price point that is affordable. And this is something that I brought into my future by making a statement to myself and repeating it endlessly that what I really want is to live among loving, caring people along the water, a seaside with salt water so I could smell the salt air every day with real food and in a country that wasn't pushing medication as in legal drug pushing that pharmaceutical companies are all too able to do in the system that America has today. Thankfully, RFK Jr. came along and is dismantling the capture of our medical system by the pharmaceutical companies. It's an excellent and I would say most needed action that's way too late for too many people have been given drugs that don't help them and harm them in too many ways based on the false publication of articles of their research because they lie in these articles. Those of us who know how to read these peer-reviewed articles can figure this out. But those of us who are just told over and over and over, we need to have this thing, we need to have this drug to feel better. Guess what? Your subconscious mind brings that information in as reality, and then you end up on these drugs. And it's a problem. And that's only one area of problems. I put this out to you because I want you to use your critical thinking skills along with your ability to imagine, allow your dreams to come true, to be able to overcome the challenges that you might see as impossible to overcome. Hell, I visualized away a 2.2 centimeter brain tumor. It wasn't cancerous, thank God. But the proton therapy I received could only stop its growth. It was not able to get rid of it based on the person who is my case manager, who is a neurological radiologist. Proton therapy is a form of radiation. She would know what she's capable of doing in her profession. What she didn't know was what I am capable of doing with my subconscious mind, focusing on what I want. Same is true for all of you. If you haven't found your purpose, I suggest you just live your life and allow it to show up in your future. As you take each step that your intuitive mind is telling you to take, you'll find your way there. And this isn't necessarily something that happens in a day or a weekend. It happens over years, sometimes decades. When I entered the world of mental health, it was because it was an opportunity that I was given. It was a very low paying job with wonderful people in that particular place. But when I moved on to supportive housing, as an unlicensed counselor, I realized how screwed up the system really is, where they put directors into these programs where people are relying on getting good care because they can't care for themselves or they would not be in these programs in the first place. And these directors were, I don't know, in one case, totally incapable. She ended up going to a program for depressives herself while I was working in that program. And in the other programs, we had a bunch of, I don't know, I don't want to label them with mental health labels because I don't really know that that would be true. But suffice it to say, they liked bossing people around. They liked demanding that they do the things they wanted them to do, taking the rights of the individuals away. And even simple things such as where they were going to go on Saturday to have a fun day, which was an empowerment that the members of the clubhouse had every Thursday. They took a vote on where they wanted to go for their Saturday trip. And then I, in my job as a social coordinator, would get into the 15-passenger van with the people who wanted to go on this trip, and we'd go do it together. What a concept. It taught them how to act respectfully to one another, how to help one another if one is having an issue, which can happen when you have emotionally unstable people. And it helped them to understand when we went to restaurants that they needed to have enough money to pay the tip to the server, among other things. They learned how to act in life in socially responsible and respectful ways. That was the point of my job. And it was a great job. And then I find myself in all these other programs where none of that is being practiced. So I decided to go to nursing school because I figured maybe if I could, have something to do with the medication as well as the therapy, that'd be really helpful as a psych nurse. Until I realized how miserable too many nurses are, most especially those who are training me to be a nurse. They were angry, upset people who are not only nasty to us, the nursing students, but sadly, even on the clinical floor with the patients in the elder care units. And that is when I decided enough. No one was taking my heart away. So I dropped out. And in Arlington, Massachusetts, where I was living at the time, there were 2 magazines for holistic health, Spirit of Change and Earth Star Magazine. And in them, each had a different school for hypnosis. I chose one, and that is how I became a hypnotist. However, to tell you the real truth, there was another really funny thing that happened along the way. Before I even took that very first course with Julie Griffin, about a month before, I met an amazing man who had gone over to England in the early 1970s to learn from Bandler and Grinder themselves how to do neurolinguistic programming. And he told me to just practice and do what I needed to do to learn how to be a really great hypnotist and NLP practitioner. He was overjoyed when I told him I was going to be taking my NLP practitioner training from Matt James because he had been doing it since the age of 18 I believe the youngest person ever certified to be a trainer. And he was and is an excellent trainer. So along the way, I realized that I wanted to train mental health providers in how to help their patients truly heal instead of managing symptoms. Because that's all they do, they manage symptoms. Well, managing symptoms is not helping anyone overcome anything to do anything with their lives. It's time consuming, it's hard, and it doesn't have to be. As my 3 very first eating disorder clients proved to me in teaching me how to help them heal their anorexia and bulimia. And so I ended up taking a master's in instructional design and technology, where I learned how to develop a program and developed a program, which is why I'm in my doctoral program, to see if those healing protocols I developed in this training will be transferable to state licensed mental health providers who claim that they are experts in helping eating disorder patients, of which they certainly are not, because we're losing many more of them to death than any other mental illness. So it's about time they learned how to help people heal instead of pretending to help people at all. That's my purpose, people. And although I've had many financial challenges over the years, I've always had people to help me out along the way. God bless them all. Because it is only with other people championing for us, seeing our vision, and being present to help us in the ways that they can, that we're able to make anything a reality. No one does anything major on their own. And that's why you need to get away from negativity and get yourself involved with people who are positive, love you unconditionally, and care about what you stand for in this life. And that is what I call living your purpose on purpose. As always, I thank you all for spending your time with me. Till next time. Bye-bye.